Hello and welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 102. I'm 2 episodes closer to 200. How exciting. Reminder that if you won the giveaway in episode 100, that you should check your comments on YouTube. I left a comment like, "You're a winner," after the winners, so make sure to check those and then contact me on Twitter or on YouTube privately if you are one of those 2 people. I need contact information so I can mail you the present. I'm still here in Berlin. I still haven't managed to recruit Forgiven for TSM. He's not returning my phone calls. I still haven't touched the magic cards. I don't know who those are, but I wanted to do a show for you anyway, so let's go ahead and dive in. First question is from Beaker Boy, and he asks, do you think Riot hates melee duelists? My 2 favorite champions feel underpowered. I wanted to see them at Worlds. No, I don't think that Riot hates any champions, and sorry. I think you should watch the video Faker put out a couple days ago called no champion is bad or whatever. In my opinion, there's only such thing as underpowered in terms of compositional fit. So I'm okay with people being sad that pros are not playing their champion and they don't get to see them played. But you have to understand that professional League of Legends is always going to operate on the game theory optimization level. We will always choose the simplest, least possible way to mess up a chance of winning the game. The absolute simplest execution, the highest probability of success at all stages of the game with all win conditions. So that automatically limits professional league. People who are taking it seriously to a very, very small swath of optimized compositions in which fit optimized champions that might slowly get countered by other optimized champions as the meta evolves. So you will get to see people get to play your champions, and those teams will be bad at League of Legends and they won't care about winning, okay? And they will play whatever champions you want. But the teams that are good at League of Legends and care about winning will never play champions that are not optimal for the most possible chances of winning the game with the strongest win conditions. And that's just the way it is. And people don't want to watch running game, but the running game in college football is the most effective way to win the game. And so that's what coaches train. That's all there is to it. People didn't want to watch a certain kind of basketball, zone defense. So eventually they made zone defense illegal, and now we get to watch more entertaining NBA. But until things change, you don't get what you want, because that's the way that the market is structured. When the market rewards the number 1 player for being the best and for winning the most, then what you get is people who try to win the most, and they will never play champions that don't fit into that mold. So, sorry. Next question is from Askichi-kun, which is not a duplicate question, a follow-up question, not a follow-up question. This is his 2nd time being featured on the show. There we go. And the question is, with a replay system coming soon to League, what exactly should I look at as an AD carry to review games in a productive way? So in a carry position, what should you review post-game using the new replay system to learn? Well, first of all, you can already do this with plays.tv. So you should start now. And hey. Essentially what you're doing is you're reviewing 2 phases of the game. I want you to review laning phase from the moment that you hit your first CS, or the minions walk into lane, all the way until level 8, 9, 9-ish, 11. So depending on when your champion power spikes. And I just want you to review all your decisions. So when did you get ganked? Should you have warded? Should you have hovered the other side of the lane? Where was your jungler? Where was your position in relation to him? When should you have coordinated with that person? Were you trading well in the CS? What were his trading power points? What were your trading power points? Learn. Okay, then go to every single team fight and question every single decision you made. And now decision, I mean every click and every key press is a decision. Every lack of a click or key press is also a decision. So question every decision you made in every team fight and try to decide, if you were a perfect human being and if you were playing an optimal team fight, what would you have done? You have done. Not what should your team have done, but given that your team sucks and this guy's semi-good and this guy's crappy and this guy was caught out of position, What should you have done in this position? Should you have left the fight? and not continued? Should you have stayed in the fight? Should you have all into more? Should you have flashed? Should you have not flashed? Like every single decision and the impact that it had. That's what I. Okay, next question is from Melly Chu, and she asks, maybe it's a she. Suggestions on balance between pursuing an esport as a pro and a healthy lifestyle. My family is concerned, which creates issues. So I don't know your context. I need a lot more context to kind of understand what advice to give you, but here's how it should be. You should be able to have, you should be able to do what's important. So you should be able to check all the boxes in terms of health and well-being and all the stuff you have to do, like schoolwork and chores and whatnot, plus training. And every single thing that takes away from your training should amp you up and motivate you. So I'll give you an example. I never got better at League of Legends than after I had a kid and had less time to train. Okay? So you are wasting time during your training that you could recapture with intensity, with extra intensity. So every single thing that comes into your training, you should see it as a sacrifice, a worthy sacrifice. Okay, now I have to go do this project. Now I have to go meet with my friends because I want to build up those relationships. It's important. Now I have to go do the dishes for my mother. Now I only have 3 hours to train. Now I only have 2 hours to train. Now I only have 4 hours to train. Therefore, you should all in, double down, quadruple importance those 2 hours that you get, and the importance of every single decision and action that you take during those 2 hours should be like seared into your brain in terms of what you learn from them and how you prepare going into them. And because of that fact, because your brain has this very limited window and is super intense during it, you will get more out of those 2 hours than a person who has just trained 6 hours would get out of those last 2 hours. So let's say you train 6 hours, then you have 2 hours left and you train those 2 hours. You get way less out of those last 2 hours than a person who just has only those 2 hours to train. That's what you should do. You should make sure you wire up everything that you do outside of training into your training in terms of like motivation and drive and grit and fire. And then you should also optimize. So like, let's say you have to be healthy, so you have to eat well. Well, are you eating well for an esport athlete? Like, have you done the research to figure out what's the best thing to eat for esport athlete? Let's say you have to work out. Your parents want you to like stay healthy and run and jog and lift, whatever. Are you doing like the best kind of lifting and weightlifting and exercising for an esport athlete? Let's say that you have to socialize and like your parents want you to make friends and they want you to dedicate 2-3 nights a week to your friends. So you're going out. Are you going out with people who are like going to lift you up and tell you to take chances and who are like okay with like failure and growth and who are you're able to discuss game theory with and like high quality concepts like, you know, what should you do in MOBAs, like vision awareness? Like, do they play other games at a high level that you can kind of like, you know, have these really high level game theory discussions on in terms of strategy? Are they also pursuing crafts at the world level, like at the world class level? Can you compare with them? So you should try to optimize everything in your life around your passion in terms of like it feeding into it. And then you should use any sort of time that you spend away from it wired up into intensity or sacrifice from them when you get to your core activity. That is my recommendation, and good luck. Next question is from It's Nam the Kid. It's Nam the Kid, and he asks, or she asks, I usually play League using a form of communication, Skype, Discord, etc. Would it be beneficial to play without them to improve? Yes and no. So yes, it's a distraction and you could be doing it without it, but actually you need communication at the pro level to succeed anyway, and it's something that you are distracted with until you automate it, and then it's not a distraction. So it's simply a way to stretch your brain. So I would say, like, of course, if it's something you can't do very well, then it will distract you from something you're trying to focus on. But if you focus on both things, then you'll get better at both of them, and both of them are components to being a top-tier player. So it makes sense to practice also communication. But why don't you tackle your communication with the same fervor that you tackle your CSing, and like practice leadership skills, like look at your teammate and say, what does he need right now? Does he need support? Does he need encouragement, empowerment? Does he need to be held accountable for his mistake? Does he need to be given responsibility so that he can lead in a moment of strength? Like if he's carrying, you know, say that you make the call. So look at your teammates and communicate with them in a way that you feel like would make you Winston Churchill leading his nation to victory, and practice those skills, because those are just as essential if you want to be a world-class player, or even just if you want to be happy and growing in your sport. And those, not only are those essential for that, but also they transfer really well to every other area of life. So you will get way more out of learning the communication and how to communicate and motivate other people and lead them than you ever will out of like learning how to CS properly. So I would say, yes, of course it's distracting if you can't do it well. You should continue doing it, unless you need to take a break to focus on one specific thing, and then you go back and you reincorporate it, because it expands the number of things you have to focus on, which means that you are stretching your brain and you're trying to if you can CS without thinking about it, if you're only CSing, can you CS while you're also talking? Okay, so then you can use that as a tool to automate your CS even better. I can focus on my CSing and my trading at the same time I'm focusing on roaming, but I can't do it when I'm talking. Okay, well then try to do it when you're talking and you get even better at it. So you can use it as a tool to kind of make sure that you have one additional thing to ramp up your focus. Question number 5 from Raven Law, and they ask, which is more important, talent or hard work? For example, if I'm not very talented but I put in the effort, I could go pro in LoL. Hard work is more important than talent, because talent is by and large a prescription of polymorphisms that is shared by a whole swath of the population. Like Michael Phelps shares a lot of polymorphisms in his genes with 30 to 50% of other people. The thing that put him on the podium is not the genes he had, it's what he did with them. It's how he activated them epigenetically. Epigenetics is the study of how humans activate the genes they have through nutrition and training and environment. So you share genetic traits and polymorphisms at every single location with large percentages of the population. I highly doubt that you have a unique mutation that only you have. It's really unlikely, especially considering that you share most or all of your genetic code with your parents. So what is more likely is that you are going to have different epigenetic factors that change how it is you express your gene code, and those are determined completely by what you eat and what you do. Therefore, hard work and training is much more important. Talent is the accumulation of what you've done in your life and expressed in your body as you've created it. Okay? So it could be you're too late for talent. Maybe you needed to start playing games at age 4 with your parents when you were growing up. And so now you're 15 years old and you're not very good at strategy because, sorry, your parents didn't raise you to be good at strategy. And now that ship has sailed and you are not talented at that. But that doesn't mean in 10 years that you can't be good at it. Depending on what you do. So start bearing down and working on your strengths and covering up your weaknesses. Next question is from Nico168B, and they ask, have you as a coach ever taught empowering body language to strengthen confidence? Why and why not? Yes, I have, because stance is important. I try to teach the guys to sit up, breathe deeply. There's a little bit of biological background to stimulating the vagus nerve, which is the one that runs down into your chest cavity. When you breathe, it releases neurotransmitters, which trigger chains or cascades of chemicals in the body during, in certain ways, noradrenaline into adrenaline based on cortisol. And so that kind of stuff is pretty important to understanding yourself. I see a lot of people who get into tough situations. They get nervous and they start twitching and oozing out energy everywhere, all over their body. Their foot's twitching, their hands shaking, their head and their fingers are gritting. Then I see high performance athletes who breathe and they take all of that nervous energy and that jitteriness and they turn it into focus. So your physical state is a representation of your mental state. And if you are spending a lot of time twitching, then it's likely that you are not really optimally engaged in the flow of the moment. It's likely that you have a lot of parts of you that are kind of distracted by anxiety, shame, embarrassment, frustration, anger, nervousness, these kinds of things. You're not so engaged that you're just totally absorbed. Okay? So I would pay attention to your body language as a signal of where your mind is. And I would say, of course, you want to it's a biofeedback loop. So it's not like you fix your mind and your body language gets fixed. It's like you fix your body language and it fixes your mind, and it fixes, and your mind fixes your body language. So I'll give you an example. One section of my life for a couple months, I was really, really, really unhappy. And I forced myself to smile from the moment I walked out the door all the way to work on the bus for the 25-minute commute. Standing in rain, waiting for the bus, riding on the bus, getting off the bus, walking all the way to work, going into the first class. I forced myself to smile that entire time. And the impact that it had on my mood and the impact that it had on, therefore, my life was drastic compared to the days I did not force myself to do that. So it's one of the ways that I beat that minor depressive episode that I had, was through biofeedback. Like what your body does, your mind pays attention to. What your mind does, your body then pays attention to. So it goes both directions. You fix it from both directions at the same time. You sit up straight, you breathe, you have correct posture, and you're focused. You're more into what you're doing than if you have your feet up. University of Minnesota socks, baby. Thank you. I did a meetup at the University of Minnesota. This awesome guy gave me these cool socks. This is the first day I'm wearing them, so thank you to I wish I could remember his name. But anyway, you know who you are. Hit me up on Twitter and say hi again, and I will see you for the next show. Make sure to check out the Mindfulness Acceptance Commitment program that I have pioneered and designed to help you guys be better humans and better, not better humans, I want to say better at everything that you put your mind to. Just better engaged, the ability to all in on what you're doing more in all areas of life, but especially in performance crafts. So studying, speaking, relationships, esport, sport, music, these kinds of things which take a kind of attitude, a kind of mental approach. Mindfulness, Acceptance, Commitment, the MAC program, mindgames.gg/MAC. You can check that out there. Be sure to check out Weldon's list, my email list, where I share with you the cool tools and best ofs that I have for my blog and all of the videos that I make. And that just kind of give you an update every week, no more than a 5-minute read on the weekly updates or monthly updates, depending on if I'm behind on them. But then I have a series of kind of best ofs that you kind of get as soon as you sign up. And then the 5-minute journal, be sure to check that out. It's the tool that I have used most for the simplest tool for the most drastic improvement. So if you're going to the 80-20 rule and you want the least amount of time invested for the most amount of impact, 5-minute journal is where it's at. I've used it with myself, my family. I've given it as gifts. I used it with 2 of the teams that I've worked with, and I think it's really important in terms of the protocol that they have for gratitude conditioning, which is what I use it for. And then for goal setting, I think it teaches you very well how to set goals that are productive and powerful for your daily life. Not the dream goals, the far off kind of where are you headed, let's get there, but the more how do I overcome the small hurdles I face to do the things I want to do in a given day? Those kinds of goals. But yeah, be sure to check that all out, and I will see you next time.